The Rangers are off to an 8-2 start. That's best in the American League. And yes, Heim time is alive and well. We've got all the stories of today's game, and there are plenty, coming next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Oh, my goodness. So what is the lead story of this game? Was it Jonah Heim? Because it was Heim time at the end. Or was it Kumar Rocker? Or how about Josh Smith? So many things to love about this game, and the Rangers winning it is the most important. They moved to 8-2 on the season. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers podcast. It's the post-game edition with me, John Radigan. Jeff Wilson joins from Globe Life Field in just a couple of minutes. He's out there right now feverishly gathering post-game reaction, and there's no doubt this is a happy clubhouse after the sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays. The Prophet is here. He's the one monitoring all the different things you're saying in the chat, and we love to hear from you. Like us, too, if you would. Subscribe to us, because this is going to be fun. Heck, it already has been fun to watch this Rangers team win 80% of their games thus far this season. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say if they win 80% of their games all year, they're going to have a really good year. And yes, Andres, we saw what you said. They didn't have an 8-2 stretch at all last year, and that's exactly right. And the last time they were 8-2 to start the year was 2012, which many think that 2012 team was actually better than the 2011 team that went to Game 7 in the World Series. And then things did derail a little bit, in part with Josh Hamilton's vision late in the season that year. But anyway, 2012 was a really good team, and they too started 8-2. This one is clearly a really good team. Over the course of the program, we are going to get to several takes of the game, the quick takes from this game, and I've got several of those. I'm sure Jeff will too. We'll also hear what Bruce Bochy had to say, hear what Kumar Rocker had to say, and no doubt get words from Jonah Heim and Josh Smith, who were certainly the offensive heroes at the bottom of the lineup today. But we start at the beginning, which was Kumar Rocker, and coming off that disastrous game in Cincinnati, a game that ended 14-3. Now, Kumar was only responsible for 6 of those, but got the team off to a terrible start on the road this season, and there is no doubt this young man wanted redemption, and there was no doubt this young man got redemption. He's a bulldog, and you saw it out on the mound today. He went out there, and he threw 77 pitches, and unbelievably, 39 of those were sinkers, hence all the ground ball outs that you saw. 2 ground ball outs in the first inning. He had 2 ground ball outs in the second inning. He had 1 ground ball out and a pop out in the third inning. In the fourth inning, all 3 were ground ball outs, 5-3, 6-3, 6-3. And then in the fifth inning, he got another couple of weak contact outs. So Kumar Rocker had it going today. 5 innings of work. He did allow 6 hits, just 1 run though, and no walks. He wasn't striking people out today. He wasn't using the fastball. He only threw that 4-seam fastball 7 times in this game. It was the sinkers and then the slider. He threw 25 sliders, just a couple of curveballs in the game. So he really, really had it going. And he redeemed himself in a big way to make it so that there is a decision to be made when Jack Leiter comes back off the injured list, because Jack's still sporting an ERA under 1. And so we'll see what happens there. But Kumar Rocker was absolutely great today. He leaves the game doing exactly what a starting pitcher is supposed to do, and that is he leaves the game with his team still having a chance to win the game, and they certainly did, and they certainly did. So very nice to see that, and that's how that went. The runs scored again, as we mentioned, because of the bottom of the order. In early in the game, the Rangers couldn't get anything going offensively, and it was Josh Smith who had back-to-back hits in his first two at-bats, and he scored the first run of the game after his hit in the third inning. He got a single and then a stolen base, and then he went to third base on a single by Jonah. That was Jonah's first hit of the game. And he came home on a ground out in that third inning by Marcus Semien. Gives the Rangers at that point a 1-0 lead in the game. It was fantastic because we knew Kumar Rocker was pitching well, and we know the Rangers can win 1-0 games. They won 2 of them in Cincinnati. That stolen base that he had was huge. The Rangers had 5 steals in this game tonight. 5 steals, and they are now tied for first in Major League, or in the American League, I should say, in stolen bases. They have 13 stolen bases right now, tied with the Red Sox for first in the American League. And it's great to see. Mike Bassick said during the course of the broadcast, he said, if these pitchers are going to be this slow to the plate, you go ahead and steal on them. And that's what they did, including Jonah Heim. And here's the first hot take of the game. Jonah Heim's 9th inning at bat might not have been his best. That 7th inning at bat was huge for Jonah Heim when he came up there and he got a single and he stole second base. Jonah Heim, the catcher, stole second base, and then he rode home on a single by Leody Taveras. And once he got into scoring position, Leody was fired up and just really had the eye. And it was a slap single to center. It wasn't like it was a blast out there to the wall that got back home in a hurry. Jonah had to hustle to get home from second base on that single by Leody Taveras. And that right there was huge for this Rangers team. At that point, they took the lead in the game, but then ultimately the Rays came back and tied the game in their half of the 8th inning, and then, of course, the Rangers won it in the 9th. So absolutely fantastic. That's the first take of the game. Jonah Heim, though, came through in that 9th inning with that clutch single as he scored Josh Smith, who had doubled with 2 outs. That Josh Smith double might be the biggest hit of the year thus far, because without him there, Jonah doesn't have the chance to do the heroics, to perform the heroics that he did just the very next batter in the game. So much to like about this game. Only 7 hits for the Rangers. And, you look back, 1, 2, 3, there were only 4 hits until the 7th inning. So they were stymied offensively. And of those 4, Josh had 2 and Jonah had 1. Top of the order, didn't do much, although mentioned, Marcus Semien with an RBI earlier in the game on a ground out. Oh, and by the way, how about Corey Seager? His first home run of the year. So that was great, too. And that was a home run, as Jeff Wilson joins us. That was a home run that gave the Rangers the lead. It was the 40th time since joining the Rangers that Corey Seager has hit a home run to give his team the lead. 40 of those. It hasn't been 4th place in all of baseball. But in any event, that was big at the time. And then ultimately, Jonah Heim and Josh Smith come through big in the end. Jeff joins us now, having talked to some of the principals down there. We'll get some of Jeff's hot takes and get to more of mine a little bit later on. But first, Jeff, what was the post-game reaction like down there?
Well, everybody was happy, of course. You go that far and have to go to extra innings, you might as well win it, or avoid extra innings, so you might as well win it when you can. And, they're getting ready to go, so it's going to be a happy flight, as they say. But the big things like you just touched on, the bottom of the lineup. I mean, that's kind of what I wrote about this morning at ALLDLLS.com is, Bruce Bochy's not worried about the guys who have done it before at the top of the lineup. It's the guys at the bottom, and they kind of carried the series. Even in Saturday's win, Kevin Pillar pinch hitting in the 9-hole started the rally that ended with Wyatt Langford's go-ahead homer. So, if this lineup is going 1 through 9, but it's 7 through 9, if 7 through 9 is producing, and once 1 through 4 get consistent, or 1 through 5, the Rangers are going to score a bunch of runs, and they all have the capability, and you're talking about guys that have done it at times in the past. I mean, Jonah Heim 2 years ago was great, 18 homers, 95 RBI. Josh Smith last year, earned the Silver Slugger Award. Leody Taveras was really, really good in 23. We can go on and on. Those are the guys that it needs to be consistent. They're not going to get consistent playing time necessarily. Though Josh Smith is going to have to, they're going to have to find a spot for him. They can't sit him when Josh Young comes back. He's been too hot. But don't be too terribly concerned about Seaman and Seager, although they did some stuff this weekend. Peterson, maybe you want to worry about a little bit, maybe a little bit about Adolis, who just missed that ball in the 5th or in the 9th. But this offense can put it together. So anyway, happy group. Jonah stole a base. That was fun.
It's huge.
And it was a big play. Josh Smith taking the extra base there in the 9th was big. There was going to be a play at second, but he legged it out. Hobie Milner, who I don't know if he got 3 guys out in a row during spring training, goes out and is, fantastic in his 2 innings. So, and even Mark Church, he got in trouble, limited the damage, 2 runs, kept the Rangers in the game. So a lot of positives. Kumar Rocker, of course, was very, very good. So lots to talk about here, John.
There is, and that was actually one of my takes of this game too, Jeff, and that is this was not a failure by the bullpen. In fact, I would say it was a success by the bullpen because you got Mark Church into this game in the 8th inning. He has not been in a high-leverage situation like that in a major league game yet in his career. And what did he do? He did what you ask pitchers to do. He left the game giving his team a chance to win, right? I mean, it would have been a failure. And obviously, there's a lot of things Mark Church would like to have done differently in that inning. He'd like not to have given up those runs. That said, he learned a lot, and it didn't ultimately hurt the team in that they came back to win the game. And to your point, Hobie Milner, 6 up and 6 down. He looked, he looked like he was really fooling them out there.
Yeah, start throwing those Frisbees up there and mixing it well. He threw a bunch of different pitches. He threw the sweeper, threw a changeup, threw a 4-seamer, threw a sinker, and he topped out at maybe 88, but it's just effective when the sweeper is coming in at 78 or 77, even throwing at 75. It's all about screwing with these guys' timings. If hitters can't get their timing right, they're at a huge disadvantage. And then it's funky delivering, there's deception and all that stuff. So kudos to him. It was a long spring. I'm not saying he's going to win the Cy Young and there won't be some hiccups along the way, but after that spring, he really showed something today.
He really did. It was great to see him accomplish that. It was great to see the team sweep the Tampa Bay Rays. And again, they've got the best record in the American League at 8-2. An awesome start, their best since 2012. Lots more coming up. We'll ask Jeff what he heard from, among others, Bruce Bochy, but whoever he spoke with down in the clubhouse after this victory. And we also get to more of our takes and of your takes. I'm watching that chat. We'll get to those. It's all coming next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it's my turn to talk about, Empire Today, our fave. We're so glad to have Empire Today back. They took a brief hiatus only because they wanted to reassess just how important our work for them has been and how to enhance it and make the most of it. And they realized you guys are buying their floors because we're reminding you it's the best you can get, right? It's the best you can do out there. Any other company that comes in and tries to do flooring is basically copying what Empire Today has been doing for years. They've got this wonderful virtual technology, allows you to see what floor you want, and you see it in your own room because you take a picture of your room and you get to see whatever flooring options they have placed in that room. It's an awesome technology. It's an awesome company, and they'll give you $350 if you book with them. $350 off your new floors using the code DLLS.
John, one of the things that came out today after the game was that Kumar Rocker had dealt with hand cramps because he'd had a lot of energy drinks to get him going. Well, Timeline, you might want to consider Timeline here. Timeline, it sells health and longevity supplements featuring their proprietary MitoPure ingredient. It works with the cells in your body to reverse age-related decline. Now, he's not old, but benefits of Timeline also include increased strength, energy, and endurance. So this is for the older crowd, but you know what? A young kid like Kumar who might, needed some energy drinks to get his blood going, maybe he should consider MitoPure because it recharges his cell, allows his body systems to work better, and it helps him wake up. So right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of MitoPure. So go to timeline.com/DLLS today to get started. That's timeline.com/DLLS.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great idea. It's a great choice. And yeah, we kind of wish Kumar had done it. Maybe it goes 6 if he's not having those hand cramps. Really nice outing by Kumar Rocker. Did you guys have a chance to speak to him yet, Jeff?
We did talk to him. He's a man of few words.
Yeah.
We asked him, well, what was better? And he's like, well, he worked on it between starts. He threw more strikes with all of his pitches and got some quick outs. And that was kind of the key. He only struck out one guy, gave up 6 hits, but he was around the plate. And they were better strikes. You can't be throwing it right down the middle as we talked about. You got to hit your corners, change speeds, which he did. And so, yeah, it was better. He could have gone a little extra, the Rangers said, but the hand cramping, they decided to back off. And really, the bullpen was short. That's why you saw Mark Church in the 8th and Hobie Milner covering 2 innings and Jacob Webb instead of Luke Jackson there in the 9th. Good job, good rebound. Whatever he worked on, hopefully he can bottle that, continue to refine it, and take it into his next start, which I believe will be in Seattle next weekend, which is where he made his MLB debut. So he'll have some feel good, some good memories from that one too.
Yeah, bring back some good memories. We have to bring up our own Jeff Wilson with our sleeper leaderboard because Jeff is running away with this competition. Jeff, where do you stand now? Let's take a look. There it is. Oh,
well, that's old. That's old. I'm 6-0.
You're 6-0. Yeah.
Actually, if I'm honest, we haven't updated the standings yet today. I'm going to be 7-1 the next time they update because last night I missed one of the picks from the Duke game, but I hit a baseball my baseball picks, which was Jacob deGrom getting more than 16 and a half outs. He did it by a half an out. Yeah. And then Juan Soto getting 1 hit, which he did in the 9th inning. So you never know, but yeah, 7-1. Gosh, I can't endorse sleeper enough. I just can't.
Yeah, we love it. And I'm sad that you're no longer undefeated, but you still have a commanding lead in our on our sleeper leaderboard, and we'll get that thing updated and get those numbers right for the next time we throw it up there. But what about Boach? What were his first and fast takes from this game and this series, Jeff?
Yeah, he's very excited about the bottom of the order and the way it continues to produce. You look at Josh Smith. It was Jonah Heim tonight with the big hit, but Josh Smith right before him kept it alive. That's 7 and 8 in the batting order. Leody Taveras, after Heim reached on the error and then stole second, He then immediately scored from second on a ball that was pretty shallow to center field,
But I
on
said,
a
yeah.
single though by Leody Taveras, the 9-hitter. So, that's so important. And Marcus Semien, the game's first run, scored on a fielder's choice. Okay, but the bottom of the order had gone on base ahead of him and created some havoc. So that was really key. Again, this offense is going to score and be like 23 if that bottom of the order, when Taveras was so good in 23, especially in the first half when the Rangers pulled away really and created put themselves in the position to go to the playoffs. They were 40-20 at one point, and the guy who had the best batting average in the American League that month was Leody Taveras at the bottom of that lineup. So he's got it in him. That's why they keep playing him. That's why he's still on this roster. He has so much talent. You look at the guy. It's like, I want to be built like Leody Taveras.
Yeah.
And he's so athletic, throws well, steals bases. He does it all except hit, but it's in him. So that's exciting. That's something to keep tabs on, especially with Evan Carter down there still figuring things out. And now Leody's probably not going to play much against the Cubs here with two left-handers going for the Cubs, but it's something to really feel good about there. Boch, of course, loves the bullpen. He was happy with how Rocker rebounded and pitched, and so there, what's not to feel good about? Really, you look at the rotation; they've had 2 hiccups in 10 games, but it only cost the Rangers one of those games. The pitching staff really isn't hurting itself. The one thing that Mark Church did was walk the leadoff hitter. You don't do that. Okay, you don't do that with a lead. So he's got to. That's going to be a lesson he takes away with him. I messed that up because I walked the leadoff guy. Jacob Webb, who was really good against left-handers, had to get some lefties out there in that 9th inning, and did. And so that's he's kind of been used a lot here lately. He pitched in that game Wednesday against the Reds, and then I think he went back to back here. So the Rangers really want to get some rest for their bullpen. They would love to win a game 10-2. Even the other night when they lost 13-2 or 3 or whatever the hell it was, 4, it was okay really because the bullpen, the main arms didn't have to go. And then the next night, Eovaldi threw the complete game shutout, and all of a sudden your bullpen's rested, and so for 3 games, including the off inning in the middle, you had your guys for 3 straight games. And obviously you saw what happened. But, did the Rangers are 8-2. It's the last team that did that, I think, was the 2012 team.
It was.
They went to the playoffs. People forget, they collapsed, but they went to the playoffs. All right. And I think the 96 team went to the playoffs. The Rangers right now, it's very, very early, but they're the best team in the American League right now, at least record-wise.
Yeah, and I said earlier when I brought up that 2012 team, Jeff, there were many of us that were around the team all the time. We kind of thought that 12 team was even better than the 11 team. Now, obviously, they faded at the end, but that team throughout the year, that team could dominate other teams.
They really did. They did everything they wanted. The biggest thing in that season was Colby Lewis's injury. If he doesn't get hurt in July, the Rangers win going away. They were never able to find somebody suitable to fill that spot. They ended up trading for Ryan Dempster, but he posted an ERA over 5. It also cost them Kyle Hendricks, which turns out to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But that 12 team did whatever it wanted, but it just goes to show you got to stay healthy and you got to have pitching depth. And I think with Scott Feldman, who got most of those starts, just didn't work. They win if they win 2 of the starts and play in Colby's spot, they win the division. But I don't think they won any. I don't think the starting pitcher, the guy who replaced Colby Lewis, did not win a game in the second half, which is crazy. It's crazy to think of. That's what happened. And so, the Rangers are already dealing with a little thing with Jack Leiter's blister, not the end of the world by any stretch. He'll be back in 2 weeks, and he's gonna throw bullpens with a Band-Aid on. he thought he'd be ready in 5 days. The Rangers just didn't have the ability to finagle the roster without a move to the injured list. So unfortunate, but Patrick Corbin would have probably been brought in last on Friday at Seattle for the opener there, because that's the first day he was eligible to come off the injured list. It'd be interesting though, if Leiter, who was scheduled to pitch Tuesday, what if he had gone out and had another great start, and then you'd have a decision to make. Who's losing their rotation spot, or is Patrick Corbin going to the bullpen?
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. And Kumar Rocker certainly, muddied those waters today with the performance he had out there. It wasn't dominant. The one thing I thought I brought up is pitch mix before you got on, Jeff. And of those 77 pitches, he threw 39 sinkers, 25 sliders, and only 7 four-seam fastballs. So, he adjusted big time and got away from allowing the opposition to sit on that fastball.
The Rays are an aggressive team. I mean, they don't wait around. They get in there and they swing. And if you can get them to swing at something at the bottom of the strike zone, chances are they're going to hit it to the ground or hit a pop up. And so that's if the sinker's moving in on, he threw the pitch, was it? I think it was him to Yandy Diaz. There was 1 out and a runner at third, and maybe it was, I think so. 1 out, runner at third, and the infield was in, and he just jammed the heck out of Diaz with a fastball that was a little bit off the plate inside, and got exactly what he wanted. Weak contact, and it worked out, and the Rangers survived. So these little moments, these little things, whether it's changing your pitch mix, making a pitch when you have to, stealing second base with your catcher, it's these little things that good teams do to win ball games. And right now the Rangers are a good team, and they're going to be a good team, and they know how to win. And it takes something like that. It takes something like Josh Smith not being happy to have a single. He saw where the ball was. He probably knew maybe that the outfielder didn't have a great arm, and so he tested it. And so Jonah Heim comes up, and instead of thinking he needs to hit one to the wall, he just had to put a ball in play, and he did that. So it's just kind of, right now it's fun to watch this team. I know the every win has been decided by 3 runs or less. So maybe people's hairs are turning grays, or they're biting their fingernails off, or I don't know, maybe having a little extra nip at the bottle. But whatever, it's fun baseball, and winning baseball is obviously the most fun baseball.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Heim and Josh Smith each 3 for 4 on the day, and that's your today anyway. That's your 7th and 8th hitters, the 2 of the 3 there in the bottom third of the order. The bell means it's time for us to chat with our sponsors a little bit. We come back, we do get to some of the chats that you have, and we also talk a little bit more about the impressions of this game. More hot takes. It's the Rangers post-game show after the Rangers beat the Rays 4-3 and sweep the series. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
John, I'm going to talk to everybody about Game Time and how awesome Game Time is. It's our favorite app for getting tickets on the secondary market. And really, John, your life's changed with your friendship with Nicole.
It is.
And she keeps you informed on the events that are coming up here. And, everybody thinks, or at least I do, when you're talking about using going to the secondary market, it's for sporting games, sports events. But you know what? It's for everything. As you know, with the play tickets that you buy, you can get comedy show tickets. You can get AA Frisco tickets. Game Time has it all, including the Rangers, including the American Rodeo, which is coming up this weekend at Globe Life Field. And honestly, I think some of the work is underway, because I went down to visit Anthony Andrew in the crowd, and it smelled like a rodeo. So anyway, download the Game Time app. You get $20 off your first purchase with the code DLLS. Terms apply.
I've always thought Anthony kind of smelled like a rodeo, so that could be. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, sorry, Anthony. Anyway, Yeah. So speaking of that rodeo, and it was pretty cool when the rodeo. I didn't get to the one last year, the American rodeo, but when it was there in 2020, Globe Life Field is pretty cool. It's a big old rodeo pen, and it's coming back. It is. It's next weekend, and those tickets are there on Game Time. In fact, Nicole's email to me, that was the lead on the thing,
wow.
right?
Yeah.
Reminding people that you can get American rodeo tickets there. It's the richest day in rodeo. $3 million at stake. And there are guys there, the champions from last year, all the world champions will be back. And each of them has a chance to win $1 million if they win again. $1 million in one day. That's excitement. And that is next week at Globe Life Field. So we encourage you to use Game Time if you want to, but make sure you go to the rodeo, the American Rodeo, next weekend at Globe Life Field. Okay, so we'll get to some of the questions as we run through this thing. Yeah, there was a question about Josh Young. It's Tuesday, Jeff, right? He's traveling today. He's not going to play tomorrow, but he comes back Tuesday.
That is correct. He is in Frisco. I'm a little concerned about the timing of the flight, but he'll get to Chicago in plenty of time to be activated Tuesday. The neck appears to be fine. We talked to him yesterday about it, or maybe it was Friday. Anyway, we talked to him recently about it, and he said the problem was he couldn't turn his head to the left. Well, if you're a right-handed hitter, you got to look left all the time. So you can't hit without looking with a hurt neck. So anyway, it's all better. He was going to get into the field today after he took a lot of grounders there yesterday before he went to Frisco. So yeah, you're looking at getting your starting third baseman back, a guy who has 25 to 30 home run potential. The trick now becomes getting Josh Smith in the line regularly. I mean, right now he might be your best hitter, so you can't take him out of the lineup. So I would expect with the cold weather forecast for Chicago that some guys will get the day off Wednesday. I think everybody will have to play tomorrow, though I suppose you could go with a Smith-Duran combination at short and third and maybe give Seager a day off if they're concerned about the calf and the cold weather. But once old Josh Young is back, then you're going to see guys getting days off. Wyatt Langford could get a day off in left field. Josh Smith could go out there. Marcus Semien, God forbid, could get a day off and have Josh Smith go over to second base. So a lot of versatility. Josh Smith could play first base even if it comes right down to it. So and he looked great in center field during spring training. So there are a lot of ways to do it, and Bruce Bochy is intent on doing that.
Yeah, and again, that's something that Josh Smith not only has earned to this point, but continued to earn with that 3-for-4 day today, and that huge double to start the game-winning rally. One of the people in the chat was talking about move Wyatt into center and give Leody a day off and put Josh in left. I'm with you. If you decide to not use Leody on a given day, just put Josh Smith out there. He's not he can pretty much play any position other than catcher.
Yeah. He played right field this spring. That was a little bit of an adventure, but yeah, he can play 7 spots. All right, and he's not the emergency catcher. It turns out Ezekiel Duran is. I don't think they want to pitch Josh Smith, but I'm sure he could just go in there and do what Duran did the other day and lob some balls in there. I think I really think though the Rangers don't want to mess with Wyatt Langford. They want him to play left field, not have to worry about another position. Not that he seems overly worried about it when we asked him about it. And again, it's not like Leody's been terrible. Okay, he's been fine. Now, if you're worried about Kevin Pillar against a right-hander, well, I could see that, but I think that Pillar's a veteran guy, and you do want to keep him sharp because he can help the team. But he's going to play a lot this week at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, Rangers have won 5 straight. That's a really nice winning streak at the start of the season. They sweep the Rays, and that Leody at bat, you mentioned it in the last segment. Jeff, but that Leote at bat in the 7th inning, once Jonah got to second base, once Jonah stole that base, and again, Leote had struck out his previous 2 at bats in this game.
Right.
And
looking.
Yeah. And so Jonah gets to second base, and it just seemed, like Leote just had a focus and a determination that hadn't been present in his plate appearances prior, and he was going to get him home. And as you mentioned, and I said it too before you came on, that's a slap single to center, man. That's one that Leote can score on from second easily. But you're not sure your big 6'6" catcher can score on that, and he did.
Well, you hope that maybe that, I don't know, turns on a light bulb. Not that Leote's not a smart player, but you don't need to always drive the ball. It's okay to take what you're given and put the ball in play and pass the baton. If you lead, if you create opportunities, you're going to have more chances to score. And that's why we were talking about lobs and risps and all of that last week. And that's okay if you leave 9 guys on base. That means you had some opportunities and the offense was doing good things, except with runners in scoring position. But you get a guy to second. It happened twice today. Really, it happened 3 times because Marcus hit the ball at the middle too. Put the ball in play up the middle, preferably get it through the infield. But that just it's simple baseball. It's doing what the game asks you to do, as Ron Washington used to say. And, it has a lot of merit because you don't have to do more. You don't have to, it's not like Leote has a 40 homer season in him. He needs to understand that getting base hits and turning the batting over and moving the line along is good enough. Even if Heim had been at first base there. All right, great. You have runners at first and second for the top of the order.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it too about Jonah, sort of applying the same logic the next time up when, he sees that Josh Smith got to second. He's like, man, I just got to get this ball into the outfield, especially with Josh Smith. With Josh Smith, if it's in the outfield, if it's a slap single to center, the likes of which Leote had hit in the 7th, Josh Smith is scoring. I mean, he can motor, and he did.
Yeah, especially 2 outs. You don't have to wait to see if the ball's caught. You run on contact. And so you're getting a flying jump, and Josh is fast enough to get home on something like that. And he made it easily. There was no doubt he was scoring. And so, but 2 out hits, those are huge. 2 strike hits, Corey Seager's home run, those are huge. I mean, it's just, these are things, again, that good offenses do. And it's not easy. Sometimes I think these guys make it harder on themselves to do it, but they all know how to hit. I think maybe sometimes they have to see it in action for it to dawn on them. But hey, I can do this. I can get a hit with 2 strikes or 2 outs if I just shorten up a little bit or whatever it is. I mean, he kind of served it into center. If you look at the follow through on his swing, it's almost like he stopped his swing a little bit and just got it out there. So good on him. And again, that bottom of the order, and it goes for every team really, but the bottom of the order produces, offense is going to be in really good shape.
Yeah, no doubt. That's sustained success, right? That's a recipe for sustaining this thing. One question about the wisdom of Josh. Farrell wonders the wisdom of Josh playing designated hitter to get things started again. It occurs that if it's looking to the left that's been the problem, then hitting could potentially be the problem to, cause any other, further incidents with that. But playing the field isn't going to be necessarily something that would lead to anything worse, any worsening of the neck.
Well, I think if the Cubs were pitching a left-hander on Tuesday, then Josh would DH. But they're pitching a right-hander. That's the only right-hander they're throwing in the series. And so, the Rangers need to get Jock Peterson going, okay? And maybe if he returns to a place where he played and might have had some success, maybe that'll do it. But that's going to be the only game he likely plays in the series, so you don't want to sit on him for 3 games. So I understand where the question is coming from. Maybe something like that does occur on Wednesday in the finale. It'll be the warmest day, but it's all relative. It's not going to be very warm for any of the three games, but maybe that's the game that they go ahead and ease him back in with a DH day.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's certainly a possibility. And we said with the two lefties, it's likely someone's calling for Jock to take a seat on the bench, and it's likely with the two lefties that at least in 2 out of those 3 games he probably won't be the designated hitter. And one of them it could be Josh Jung, and the other it could be Corey Seager.
Sure, and again, Corey showed something with that swing. It was a 0-2 pitch, stuck with it. Corey Seager doesn't have to have an 0-2 approach. He gets to swing for the fences or as hard as he normally does every time, and sometimes you run into one. And so he got that one, and it's got to feel good for him to help out a little and show a little something. He's been playing pretty good defense. That always helps. You hit him the ball, he catches it, and he gets the out. Nothing wrong at all with that. So I think, though, that you still want to manage him. If the calf is sore, then he'll either sit or he'll DH. That's just what he did. He sat, what was it, in Cincinnati on that last day, unexpectedly, but the Rangers made the adjustment. Still managed to win. The guy who filled in for him had the big hit, Josh Smith, the guy who I agree, he needs to play every day. I just don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah, and that's the question. Even in the suggestion of him playing every day, it involves him playing at least 2 different positions. I think they were, or maybe one was DH and one was out in right field. But and look, that's not necessarily the way it'll happen with Boch. He's going to give people rest as well as, if there's a need to sit somebody for a reason, he would do that too. But in the short term, it's more about getting guys off their feet and the words you hate to hear, and you don't hear them much in baseball. It's a basketball term, but load management, right? It's a long season. So if you have a Josh Smith in there, you have to get him in the lineup, Jeff, at least 5-6 times a week.
Yeah, he should be an everyday player, but he needs days off too. Let's not forget that. If we're going to talk workload management here, he's going to need days off too. I think Peterson needs some days off there. He's from what I can tell, and Abby was pointing this out to me. He's changed his walk-up music every game. He had 3 different walk-up musics this series. He tried the torpedo bat Friday and dumped it immediately after not getting any hits with it. Seems like he's a little superstitious. Seems like he's knows he needs to get things going. Maybe a day off where he's able to get some extra work in the cage with the hitting coach. Maybe that helps. I don't know if he's a student of video. I'm guessing he is. Maybe they find an adjustment that works for him. But you also keep in mind the old. It was taught to me. I'm sure it goes older than this, but the Ron Washington belief that it takes 100 at bats for these guys to know who they are.
Sure.
And we're 10 games into the season here. It's not like we're in June and
no.
Jack Peterson's hitting 115. It's still early, still plenty of time to get straightened out, and the Rangers are giving him a bunch of money and expect him to do that. Yeah,
and there's no switch, right? There's no light switch. There's nothing. You just have to figure it out. And Jock Peterson and the Rangers hitting coaches have made careers of doing just that. So we'll count on that, but we'll also keep our fingers crossed that happens soon. More coming up as we get you ready for the series in Chicago, and we continue to revel in the success that the Rangers have had to start the season in the American League. That's next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Got to be honest with you, Jeff. Today I was wishing that the store.allcitynetwork.com had parkas and hats and gloves. It's not only cold outside, it's cold as heck in here.
Oh
and
no.
you'd be freezing. You'd have two hoodies and your parka on in here because it's that cold. The hockey guys are up there too, by the way, watching the Stars game, making fun of how cold the Prophet and I are.
Are they wearing shorts and
Oh yeah,
you know
they're like, yeah, this is summertime in Maine. I'm like, well, this isn't Maine, okay?
exactly
This is
exactly.
Texas, and it's cold. And I saw somebody on Twitter say, yeah, this is Texas's third winter, and every year we get a third winter. Now, thankfully, our third winter is only a couple of days long. Yesterday
Yeah.
and today, it appears, because now the weather's going to get nice, and that way we do have all the T-shirts you want at store.allcitynetwork.com, including the new baseball ones. I've gotten the notice. They've found my address again, so mine are
All
on
right.
the way. On the way, Jeff.
I'll be wearing mine tomorrow, and
Beautiful.
I'll show you. I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with yet, but anyway, you can see it and say, "Hey, I want that shirt." When I become a diehard,
Yep.
because you should become a diehard, it's access to all of our stories, not just the stuff that I write, but Clarence and Joe on Cowboys and Sam. And I think Sean Shapiro does a little work for us on the Stars, and then Tim Cato over there on the Mavs beat. I hear some former players coming back to town this week, so you
Yeah.
probably want to read all about that. And then it's not just free T-shirts. We give you 20% off our events, like our upcoming golf tournament, April 25th. That you guys need to go ahead and get yourself a foursome together out there at Stevens Park, the Augusta of East Dallas, or of Dallas, not East Dallas, my fault. And we'll go out there and have us a good time.
Yep. That's awesome. We appreciate you doing that. And yeah, sign up. We'd love to see you. We'd love to have a chance to play with you and enjoy your company out there at that golf tournament. Jeff and I are both planning on being out there. So
I think our
it
foursomes are for sale, John. I think there's 2 spots available in your foursome and
yep.
3 in mine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
So come
yeah,
on
it's
out
not
there,
even.
and yeah, my foursome will include my son, who's a big 6'7" kid and a basketball player by trade, but now he's a golfer, avid, and as such, he can hit it 6 miles. Now he can hit it six
Ooh.
miles in any direction, but man, when he hits it 6 miles straight, it's fun to watch, and we're playing a scramble, so we'll have some short approach shots, I think, on some of those holes. So anyway, yeah, do that. Sign up, hang out. It'll be fun. Um, I think the Chicago series will be fun too, Jeff. In part, Cubs are playing well too. The Cubs are off to a nice start, just as the Rangers are. And again, it's obviously such a short sample. Like you say, it would be the equivalent of one game or maybe even a little less than one in an NFL season. Point is, people thought the Cubs were going to be good. People thought
Yeah.
the Rangers were going to be good. We've got two good teams meeting in Chicago, and it starts with the top of the rotation for the Rangers. Now, the Cubs are sending a guy out there who was their opening day starter last year, not this year, but still, that could be a pretty good pitching matchup with Nathan Eovaldi tomorrow.
Yeah, and he got injured on the opener. I don't remember if it was a groin or I don't remember the injury, but he got taken out of the game pretty early. And of course, that was Jonah Heim's last walk-off hit before today. He won that
Yeah,
game March 28th. I think it was the 11th inning with a hit after that crazy sequence with the wild pitch and that allowed the Cubs to go ahead. And then Travis Jankowski comes up in the ninth, hits his only home run of the season to tie the game. And yeah, the Cubs can pitch, and they do have a lot of left-handers. Imanaga and Matthew Boyd, in addition to Steele. So, um, the Rangers, though, upgraded their offense to be better against left-handers. Heim hits lefties pretty well. Berger hits lefties pretty well. They hit the fastball pretty well. So Kevin Pillar, he's on the team to play center field against left-handed pitchers. So pretty good opportunity here to see where the Rangers stand. I think the Rays are a good team. Um, I know the Red Sox are a good team. the Reds have some promise, I think. So it's not like the Rangers have been playing Double-A teams here. They're playing teams that some people think are going to contend for a lot of people think will contend for the postseason. And the Cubs are, the likely, or they're the preseason favorite to win the NL Central. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold, but it's going to be cold for both teams. And then the Nathan Eovaldi starting off the series. That's probably who you want on the mound right now if you're the Rangers to open a series.
Yeah, and so have the Rangers announced all three starters yet? Do we know what order they're going to pitch in? We obviously know it's Nathan, but Jack Leiter is not there to start on Tuesday.
Yeah, Corbin's going to start Tuesday, and then Molly will pitch Wednesday. So they're going to hold the order, even though they're changing it up for Leiter. They're now the no off day, so they kind of have to hold the order. Now they'll be off after the series and get an off day in Seattle. It's not like it's going to be 85 and balmy in Seattle, which I think is the coldest ballpark in the American League. I really do.
This time of year especially. Yeah,
I do not like going to Seattle. It's a very nice ballpark, but it's just always cold. And so it's going to be a lot of hand warmers getting used and a lot of hoodies and those goofy things, face masks that they're going to wear. I guarantee you Monday, Adolis Garcia, you'll only be able to see his eyes. Okay, he's going to have one of those face masks on. He may not be the only one, but yeah. So again, and we asked about the rotation. Rangers, 10 games in, they've had 2, you would say, stinkers.
Yeah,
but 8 out of 10 starts have been really, really good. And again, Kumar Rocker did not come into the interview room afterwards, and Jonah Heim did. But Rich Rice, the PR guy, said, well, because I asked if Kumar was coming in, and Rich was like, well, he didn't really factor into the outcome of the game. I was like, yeah, he did. He gave him 5 scoreless innings. He's the reason why they stayed in the game, But alas, we had to get Kumar at his locker, which does not have a rocker. But
I see what you did there.
Well, I get the L's and the R's tied up sometimes, but it's a very good start for the rotation.
Yeah, in fact,
an even better start for the bullpen. Frankly.
Yeah, and to your point on the rotation, 2 trips through the rotation, and the Rangers have the best rotation ERA in American League at 2.68. And as you mentioned, that's, with those 2 starts. And again, they did win one of the stinker starts. And that one, of course, was the Tyler Mahle first start. And then, of course, they lost the other one where Kumar gave up 6 against the Reds. So, but still with those numbers thrown in, the rotation ERA is 2.68.
Yeah, well, and Mahle only gave up 1 run. The bullpen came in, Jacob Webb came in and was able to keep the Red Sox to 1 run there, but Mahle couldn't throw a strike. Rocker threw too many strikes. And not good ones, and that's what led to the 6 runs in 3 innings. But when you have guys who are around the plate, getting quick innings and not hurting themselves, that's the big thing. Rocker didn't walk anybody today. DeGrom didn't walk anybody yesterday. Eovaldi did not walk anybody Wednesday. You can't hurt yourself, because if you give up a home run, all right, you give up a home run. But if it's a solo homer, you're okay. It's when you walk a guy and give up a hit and then allow a 3-run homer. Those are the things that kill you. But the key to the rotation success has been they haven't been beating themselves.
Yeah, it's great. The Rangers have done a great job, Jeff, getting runners into scoring position. We talked about Josh Smith taking the extra base in the 9th inning. Rangers had 5 steals in the game. And they're with 13 on the season. They're tied in the American League for first with the Boston Red Sox. And it appears that this is, by the way, only the 2nd time in franchise history that the Rangers have had 3 steals, at least 3, in 3 straight games. And it's the first time they've ever done that against the same team for 3 straight games. And it's almost like, all right, Tampa Bay, if you're not going to hold us on, we're going to steal. And I really like that approach, to the point that even the Jonah Heims of the world are stealing bases.
And a lot of them have been on the first pitch.
Yeah.
Marcus Semien was going to steal a base on the first pitch, but Corey Seager fouled the ball off earlier in the game. It just seems like maybe it's a pattern that the Rays pitchers have gotten into. Obviously, they're slow to the plate. If you give up a stolen base to the catcher, there's something wrong. All right. Yeah. There really is. And but the Rangers need to clean it up too. It's not like they're not.
No, that's the thing.
Stolen bases, and that was something we talked about with Bruce Bochy. I tried to be very gentle with how I asked the question, and and he called me out on it. He said, "No, it's been a track meet out there." So the Rangers also need to work on holding runners. Sometimes, it's more important to make your pitch, but gosh, with like 1 out, you give up a stolen base. Guy in scoring position, or no out, you give up a stolen base, 2 chances to get him in, or 3 chances to get him in. It makes life harder on you. So, but the Rangers have a lot of guys who can take bags. Semien, Adolis stole a base yesterday. Langford stole a base. And then of course there's the speed at the bottom with Leote, who's just so darn fast. And Evan Carter, whenever he gets back, he can have a field day if they're not going to hold him on. So that is a good sign, and it's something that when they change the rules and kind of the pickoff moves and shorten the bases, or shorten the base paths by winding the bases a little bit, the distance between first and second, it was thought that the Rangers would really try to take advantage, but sometimes you don't want to run. Like Marcus doesn't always want to run with Corey Seager up. You don't want to take the bat out of Corey Seager's hands, especially if he's hot. But Bruce Bochy has told him, if there's an opportunity, go and get the base, because it does put pressure on the other team.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to get your thoughts on. I was just really impressed with Jacob Webb in that role today. I mean, he just seemed extremely comfortable, and that is not a comfortable situation.
It is not a comfortable situation. Not at all. Look, Jacob Webb's first appearance this year came in the 2nd inning of a game.
Yeah.
Okay. This guy has pitched in a lot of different innings, a lot of different situations this season, and he's come through really well with them. I was glad, I guess, that he got to face the left-handers, because he's held lefties to under 200 in his career. He held them to 146 last year. With, it's the changeup, and it's just a difference maker. And everybody was talking about why did you sign this guy? Well, the reasons were he wanted to be here, but he's really good against lefties, and the Rangers wanted to improve that from last year. So you bring in a guy with reverse splits, it kind of messes with the teams that are so reliant on left versus right, like the Rays are. And so he was facing the bottom of their lineup, sure, but he neutralized left-handed hitters that maybe against another right-hander would have a better chance to get on base in a really key spot. So good for Jacob Webb.
Yeah, it was really fun to see, and he just I felt really good about him out there in that situation, which is nice, because at that point in a tie game, things could feel a lot different, and they didn't. The Rangers avoided extra innings, which was fantastic and very helpful. They didn't have to go any deeper in their bullpen, and they sweep the Tampa Bay Rays. They're off to an 8-2 start, best since 2012. They're headed to Chicago for 3 games against the Cubs, and we are back tomorrow at noon. It's going to be a normal edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast. We'll see you tomorrow at noon.
We all silly like the mayor.